I chose her husband's twin. That first night he walked back into my life, the air shifted. I remember standing in the kitchen with a glass of red wine, staring into the doorway where he appeared, my husband's estranged twin, Marcus. They looked alike down to the tilt of their smiles, but Marcus carried something darker in his eyes, something lived in. It was as if the shadows liked him better. He said my name softly, Olivia, and in that moment, I knew I was in trouble. I had built my 30s into routines I thought would last forever. My marriage to Daniel was steady if not thrilling. My job designing boutique home interiors kept me busy. And in our quiet suburban world, I cherished dinner parties and slow Sunday mornings. After my mother's passing, Daniel's calm had been my anchor. My best friend warned me once that life's smooth waters can hide dangerous currents. I didn't know it then, but mine were already starting to pull. The night Marcus came back was the same night I learned that Daniel had been unfaithful. I found the message purely by accident while looking for an old email in his laptop. The subject line was nothing special, tonight, but the words inside cut like a blade. He had been seeing someone from his office for nearly a year. When I confronted him, he confessed in a tone so detached it felt like I was speaking to a stranger. He didn't ask for forgiveness, only packed a bag and said he needed time. The house smelt different without him, less of cedar aftershave, more of silence so thick I swore I could taste it. Each footstep echoed against the hardwood, like the place had become hollow. My chest carried an ache the shape of our history, and my mouth felt dry, metallic. I avoided every mirror because my own reflection looked unfamiliar, as if grief distorted even my features. Then, Marcus began stopping by. At first, it was under the pretense of returning borrowed tools or checking on me for Daniel. I should have kept my guard up, but one evening after the rain had left the garden smelling of wet earth, he appeared in that same doorway again, leaning against the frame. His hair was streaked with silver, his t-shirt stretched across broad shoulders, and yet the way he spoke to me was gentler than anyone had in months. He asked if I had eaten. I told him I had no appetite. He offered to cook, and soon the kitchen filled with the aroma of rosemary and garlic, mingling with something else, something electric in the space between us. I caught him once looking at me, like he was memorizing the lines of my face. As the days went on, our conversations grew longer. I told him things I hadn't told Daniel in years, about my dreams, my fears after my mother's death. The nights I sat awake wondering if I had chosen love or simply safety. Marcus listened as if every syllable mattered. One afternoon, while facing a cabinet hinge, his hand brushed mine. The contact was brief, but my breath caught. And in his eyes I saw the mirrored flicker of recognition, the dangerous kind. If this confession has you holding your breath and wondering just how far we dared to go, hit like and share, because you will not believe what happened next. A week later, Daniel called to say he would be gone indefinitely. Marcus started staying later, helping me with the house. We shared coffee on the porch, watching the sun bleed gold into the horizon. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the faint salt of my tears I didn't even realize had fallen. One night, after a bad storm knocked the power out, we sat by candlelight. The shadows played across his jaw, and the sound of rain softened into a rhythm that made speaking feel too loud. He reached for my hand slowly, as if giving me a chance to pull away, but I didn't. We sat like that until the candles burned low. It was not the kind of touch that demanded, it was the kind that simply held. I knew the line we were nearing could break everything, my marriage, their bond as brothers, whatever fragile dignity I still had left. And yet, in Marcus's presence, I felt alive in a way loss had stolen from me. He was nothing like Daniel. Where Daniel's attention had grown complacent, Marcus's was deliberate. Where Daniel had walked away, Marcus stayed. The guilt was a constant thrum under my ribs, but so was the longing. The smell of his cologne, something warm with a hint of spice, would cling to the air long after he left. I started dreaming about him, vivid scenes of us laughing in sunlit rooms. Sometimes I woke tasting imagined moments, something sweet and unnameable on my tongue. Reality was not so reckless. We spoke in half-truths, careful pauses, words chosen for safety instead of honesty. But even silence began to breathe between us like shared language. One evening, after helping me move boxes in the attic, Marcus paused at the top of the stairs. He looked at me, really looked, and said softly, "You deserve better than what Daniel gave you." The words stayed in my chest the rest of the night, expanding like they needed more space. What was better? What was worse? All I knew was, for the first time in a long while, someone saw me, not the version I presented, but me. Our moments together became my secret lifeline. The risk was he touched my cheek briefly, his thumb brushing the trace of a tear I had not been aware of. "Whatever happens," he said, "remember this. You are more than his mistakes." Then he left, and the scent of the rain on his jacket lingered like a promise. I stood in the doorway for a long time, listening to the quiet. The horizon in the distance was bleeding into night, and in that fragile space before darkness took over, I let myself imagine a life where I could choose freely. Maybe it would never happen. Maybe this was just a chapter between the before and the after. But in his presence, I had remembered my own worth. And that was something I could never unlearn. If you crave more raw emotional confessions, please like, share, and subscribe. Your next chapter awaits.